So think about your day, yesterday, maybe the day before. Think about as you walked around in your home, you went to work, you experienced life outside your house, and you started to see people acting and behaving certain ways. As you were watching and observing, did any of those experiences that you saw or interactions that you had kind of set you back and go, why in the world is that person doing that way? Or why did that just happen? Right? So a lot of times we have that. We sit there and we're going through life and people are doing certain things and you just kind of look and scratch your head. It's like, I wouldn't do it that way. Why are they doing it that way? And we get frustrated and we get upset. And maybe we even get angry sometimes. It's like, man, I wish they would just do it the right way. If you had any of those experiences or any of those thoughts or any of those emotions, then today we're going to talk about what do we need to do about that? How do we become more emotionally aware and more self-aware of the things that are happening around us, and most importantly, about the relationships that we're engaged in? And are we really impacting them positively or negatively based off of our sheer, I would call it kind of stupidity about humanity? All right, to begin, I want to give some real life scenarios, things that you can relate to. I'm sure that you can relate to them because I know I can, because probably most of them are about me. But let me share with you a series of stories, little vignettes, and kind of watch how these things play out. Story number one, a relative of mine thought, man, he was so excited. He was going to take his wife to Hawaii. He was so excited about this. He called, he got the reservations. He got her little bag packed, what he thought she would needed on it. He didn't know what clothes, but he didn't care because he'd set aside a budget that when they got there, she could buy new bathing suits and new clothes. And he had this thing all planned out, got the airfare, and the day came. And he was so excited, and he kind of tricked her in the way. It's like, hey, we're going to go to lunch today. Can I come by and take you to lunch? And she thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. So she had planned that couple hours of her day to be able to go to lunch. So he shows up, he picks her up, they drive out, and as they're driving, they're not going to lunch. They're driving down the freeway, and she's like, what's going on? I thought we were going to lunch. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. I'll let you know when we get there. And so they're driving, and all of a sudden they're getting closer to the airport. And she's now starting to realize that he's taking me on a trip somewhere. And he's so excited. I mean, he's like busting. He pulls into the airport and says, surprise, I'm going to take you to Hawaii, and it's all set up. We're going to Hawaii for 10 days. And she just froze. I mean, absolutely froze. And she said, there is no way I can go to Hawaii. He's like, well, why not? And first off, she says, well, I don't have any clothes. He says, got it taken care of. We're going to buy clothes when you get there. I said, well, we didn't budget for that. And he's like, well, I did. And so kind of answered that one. Well, I don't have the things. I got your little bag right here, the things you need. And then finally she said, well, here's the deal. I needed more notice because I have things scheduled tomorrow, the next day, next week that have been on my schedule, and I didn't have any time to move those or do anything, so I cannot leave. I can't readjust my schedule that fast. And she literally got in the car and refused to go to the airport that day. So he gets in, he slams the door. Now he's angry and he's frustrated and upset. He's driving back the whole way. He's like, she's just this big jerk. Here I was trying to make this great thing happen, and she just poo-pooed the whole thing. So who was right? Some of you are probably going, well, he should be angry, right? He should be upset. Probably some of you are going, well, no, she has every right. He should have planned this, right? The reality is her personality, her temperament was such that she was a planner. She was an organizer. She needed order and structure. He knew that about her. He just thought this one free moment, because he was this freedom, just go out there, do things when you feel like doing it kind of guy. And he thought that he could just do that and she could just accept it and just drop who she was and make this thing happen. So that's one example of somebody who was not self-aware, right? You're not aware of the human that you're interacting with and what they might need to make this thing successful. Story number two. Probably all of us have experienced this, right? Have you ever been family party, have a bunch of people over, and now it's time to load the dishwasher, right? And so everybody starts to try to load the dishwasher, and then all of a sudden the person whose house it is might come in and go, wait a second. You guys aren't doing this right. Just everybody stop, just leave the kitchen, I'll do it myself, right? Well, there's two parts to this that might be a problem. One might be that the person who needed to load the dishwasher the right way was really not self-aware that people were just trying to help, right? Or the people that were just trying to help weren't self-aware that there really was a way for this human to be able to load a dishwasher. And maybe they could have taken time to say, well, how can we load this effectively so that you could be happy with that? In either one of those cases, neither party was trying to be self-aware. They were most interested in just what they needed, not what the humans that they were interacting with needed. So this is a great story, right? That this wonderful human that I know that's here trying to help us with our videos just loves her house to be cleaned a certain way. And she just kind of got behind the power curve. And so before she was coming to do this photo shoot this week, her husband, offering to be the best husband that he could, says, don't worry about the house. I will clean it for you tomorrow. I thought, wow, that's awesome, right? So she comes here, she works, and then she gets home and she realizes that, yeah, he cleaned it, but it just wasn't quite right? Just wasn't quite the level that she would have cleaned it. Now, being self-aware, this is how it could have played out. If I was really self-aware, I probably could have said something like, you know what, thank you so much for making the sacrifice and cleaning the house, and then said nothing else, right? Could have done that. Or we could say, well, thanks for cleaning the house, but, and you know what happens when we put a but into any sentence? It negates everything before whatever it was we said. But the reality is that there was a way that she loved to have her house cleaned, and he didn't necessarily meet that need. And so we look at this example to sit there and say, well, how could self-awareness have helped us? On one case, maybe better communication, and maybe to help from a self-awareness perspective, that he could have maybe spent a little more time understanding what does clean really mean. Or she could, in a circumstance or situation, say, you know what, he did the best job he could. I'm just going to leave it because I don't want him to feel like what he did wasn't really valuable to me. And then as we move forward, we'll just get better at communicating what that looks like down the road. So in either case, it could end up negatively impacting the relationship. And in this case, it didn't, because she operates from such a high level of maturity that it just worked out well for her and her husband. But it could have gone bad really fast, simply if the individuals weren't interested in understanding from a self-awareness perspective, what is it that I need, but really what is it that the other person needs? Because ultimately, that's what self-awareness is about. Ask yourself this question: am I even aware of how, when I show up, the level of impact I'm having on others? Or do I just show up and just let the experience, like I just show up and say, get out of here, I need to load the dishwasher? What kind of impact did that have on the people that we're trying to help, right? Am I even aware of that? So as we end this today talking about self-awareness and how important it is to understand this ability of self-awareness, we need to understand it's not always about me. It is mostly about others, and how aware am I that the impact that I'm having on them, either positively or negatively. So as you begin your journey, if you have stories like that we've just gone through and you've kind of role-played those in your head, like, man, I just had one of those yesterday, the day before, you could begin your self-awareness journey by taking our free assessment down below and join us on our mission of helping us put the human back into humanity.